Hello, everyone. Welcome to Film Conversations here on AJ for short, where we get into the stories shaping creative industries. I'm your host, Alice Johnson, and as usual, I have here a guest. Today's guest is kindly brought to you by the DFM 2025, which I'm excited to be a part of the press talent this year. Andrea Voges is the festival manager of the Durban International Film Festival, and we're going to be hearing her bio. When we get to know more about her, we'll go straight into the conversation to talk about the festival this year and much more. So stay tuned. Andrea Voges is the festival manager and head of programming for the Durban International Film Festival. With nearly 2 decades of experience in the arts and film industry, she has worked on major international collaborations like the South Africa-UK seasons and played key roles in initiatives such as the Presidential Employment Stimulus Package for artists during the pandemic. She's held positions at the Realness Institute, Urucu Media, and STEPS, and has contributed to festival distribution and project management across film and music. A Locarno Industry Academy alumna, Andrea has twice been named by Screen International as one of 25 future leaders in global film programming. Andrea, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Alice.
It's a pleasure, and we are so grateful for your time because we know this is crunch time. This is definitely the time you're preparing for the festival. And we thank you that you've given us a bit of your time to talk about the festival this year and just, get into what the festival entails. So we'll start from you, Andrea, as a person. What drew you to work with DIFF?
It's actually an interesting story. It happened by chance. I had matriculated and finished high school and started working. And a friend of mine encouraged me to apply for a festival, a gig. And I was the jury minder in 2009, actually. And in that position, you get to kind of watch the films with the jury. Obviously, you can't comment, but you can watch the films. And to be honest, I think the films drew me. I hadn't seen films like this anywhere. We were kind of really used to consuming Hollywood cinema. So I've always loved films, but I always just knew Hollywood or American cinema. So the festival, the Durban Film Festival, was the first place where I had discovered independent art house films. And then, of course, the vibe, the energy, the excitement of the festival was infectious. So I did my gig for 2 weeks. I went back to my job and then I just harassed DIFF until they gave me a job. I just would send my CV every month until something opened. Yeah, so it wasn't this career in arts and culture, primarily film, was not intentional. One thing kind of led to another. But I would say it's the films and just the energy of film festivals.
So that's a note there for anybody who's watching. Harass them with your CV. Hopefully, you will get a role in the place. So, you've held several roles. I mean, you've mentioned that getting into this was kind of like it just happened by chance. But what do you think is unique about DIFF and about this particular role that you hold?
Yeah, I've worked for almost 20 years in different spaces, whether it's giving, grants through the government to artists, or helping with sales and distribution or development of skills, filmmakers. I think DIFF is the showcasing of the film, so it's really being very close to the actual contents. I've not wanted to be a filmmaker. I'm very passionate in supporting filmmakers and artists, primarily once the kind of product is made. So I love film festivals for this reason. It's a launch pad for films, the promotion to help get the word out there. Um, I think the thing I enjoy about film festivals is the relationships with the filmmakers. You kind of see the progression of a filmmaker's work. And then also, of course, all the industry professionals, whether it's other programmers, film critics, the sales agents and distributors. There's a real industry behind it, where maybe if you contrast that to poetry or writing or, so I enjoy that I enjoy that our industry is well supported. Yeah, I'm just very happy that I'm in the showcasing space at the moment.
And for our listeners, so those watching right now who may not be too familiar with the festival of DIFF, what would you say is the spirit of the festival and what sets it apart from other festivals in Africa and beyond?
So the Durban International Film Festival is the oldest and the largest in Southern Africa, as well as the only Oscar qualifying in Southern Africa. We are the premier festival for Southern Africa. The kind of programming that we have is very open, and I think that's what's really special about DIFF. A question I get a lot is, what is the theme, or what are you looking for in films? And the truth of the matter is we aren't really looking for anything specific. It's just, it needs to be an urgent story, something that needs to be told, something that has, artistic merit. But we're pretty open. And I think every now and then we enjoy to be a bit provocative, and really challenge people. And that's one of the key things that we do keep consistent every year. We make sure to get a good geographical spread across the world, with obviously a focus, a dedicated part or sides of the program being dedicated to Africa. But if you come to DIFF, you will experience films from all over the world, all different kinds of voices, all different kinds of stories. And we do enjoy every now and then to put that provocative film in, because we are very much about entertaining, but also challenging our audiences.
How would you say the festival has evolved over maybe the last 5 to 10 years till now?
So I'm in this position for the last 3 years, just as we came out of COVID. So I wouldn't say, truthfully speaking, I wouldn't say we've evolved so much. It's been more about getting back on track after the pandemic, which resulted in a lot of cinemas closing down, people being used to staying at home and using streaming platforms. So it's really to get people after the pandemic to come back out, to be a community, to watch cinema together, to get our audiences back. And I think the best way that we've done that is through programming, strong programming, and making it more accessible. I think worldwide, the economy, we all know what it is since the pandemic and many other things that go on. So we've really focused on accessibility, whether it's increasing our venue footprint. We now have screenings in Johannesburg and Cape Town, and new venues in Durban, and then also just keeping the cost of the ticket really low. Yeah, getting subsidies for that. So in terms of evolution, it's really just about getting back on track after the festival, and it's been about 3 or 4 years. And I think from next year we'll really focus on now where to from here, evolving.
You just mentioned that you have screens in several cities. So we're talking Johannesburg, Cape Town. How are you able to manage this as a festival manager during the festival? I know you can't be at two places at one time. So how are you able to manage all of this?
So our screenings in Johannesburg and Cape Town happen 5 days or the weekend after the festival wraps in Durban. So we do still want audiences to join us in Durban for the festival. But we thought so during COVID, we were online. And then when we came back to being fully physical, we dropped the online space completely. But during the COVID years, there were audiences in Johannesburg and Cape Town that really enjoyed attending DIFF, and maybe they can't make it, to Durban. So this is why we thought we would have screenings the weekend after.
That gives everyone the opportunity to also watch these films. So thank you to the festival, and hopefully you get the chance to do it in more cities in the coming years. Now, I'm about to put you on the spot as a mom with her babies. You said you've been in this role for about 3 years now. And so I would like to know, which one would you say, or which edition would you say that you have been a part of that maybe came with some wonderful surprises that you'd like to share with us?
I think in this position, last year was my favorite edition. It was the second edition I was doing. So things had settled, some lessons had been learned from the first edition. So I think last year was really amazing. Everything from the program to the opening night, there was just an energy. We actually received way more people than we could accommodate. We had to open a second screening, so there was just this enthusiasm on opening night. We had about 60, 70 people in excess, so we had to open a second screen. So that was quite nice, you know. It takes a year to put this festival together, so to get that kind of response is, you know, it's encouraging, especially in this space where things can be quite challenging in terms of funding and that kind of thing. It just gives you a bit of energy to keep going. So I think last year was good. I'm hoping that this year will top last year. And then I was at DIFF for 4 years between 2010 and 2014. Those years were also really good, and that's kind of the reason why I came back, is because I had such fond memories. Yeah, last year the jury, they all gelled. It was just such a good vibe and good feeling.
I'm going to come to the support bit because you mentioned something about support, funding, and all of that, but I would like to get into this year's festival. Tell us what's up for this year. What are we to expect for someone who's anticipating attending the DIFF? Any special standout films, anything to look out for, panel discussions, you know, go full for us and tell us all about it.
Cool. So this year we're very excited about the program. There are many, many highlights. I think the first is that we're having a retrospective on, in my opinion, and actually he's widely regarded one of the best South Korean film directors, Mr. Lee Chang-dong. So we're having a retrospective that will feature 5 of his films. I think the most well-known is Peppermint Candy, and more recently Burning, which showed at Cannes, I think 4 or 5 years ago. So we have a Korean retrospective, which I'm very excited about. He's one of my personal favorites. And then we have the 3 African films that had their premiere in Cannes just 6 weeks ago or so. So My Father's Shadow, Promised Sky, and Aisha Can't Fly Away. So we're very excited to have the African premieres of those films. And I think just, you know, it's a good pick of films from all over the world. We, of course, also have a strong representation from France. I so appreciate the work that France does in the continent with all of the co-productions. So we have quite a few French films co-produced between France and Africa. Some of the highlights are of Mud and Blood. It's a documentary about the Congo and how the mining, all of this kind of mining that happens, and they're paid very little, but it's so valuable to the rest of the world. Ancestral Visions of the Future, which had its premiere in Berlinale this year. Sudan, Remember Us, I think it had its premiere in Toronto last year, another documentary. Very excited about it. It focuses on the youth and their struggle against, you know, what's going on in Sudan. But it's also very like artistic, poetry, music, so it's amazing. And so many other really amazing films. I'm quite excited about the South African lineup. We've got Blackburn's Fast, which is geared towards maybe the younger audience. It's set in a high school and the journey of 2 girls falling in love. We have Street Trash that talks about the homeless. And actually a second South African film also geared towards the unhoused, which is called God's Work. And then interestingly, we didn't go out of our way to do this. It just naturally came up. But there are a few films in the program that speak to disability. And I think one of the highlights is Marlene Matlin, Not Alone Anymore, which had its premiere in Sundance. It's around the first deaf actress that won an Oscar and just her life and her career. So I think it's about disability, but I think what makes the film special is its disability within the film industry because she is an actress. And I could just go on and on. We have 85 films. They're all really lovely. And I hope people watch as much as they can. Yeah, it's really not to be missed.
Yes, you've heard it straight from the festival manager. Amazing lineup of films. I'm particularly excited about the African screenings that happen in Cannes, also being shown at DIFF. And I'd like to know, I don't know, maybe you'll be sharing some trade secrets. How are you able to get these exclusive films to DIFF? Because it's amazing how most of the films that do international premieres usually get African premieres at DIFF. Is there like a trade secret? Maybe don't share all of it, but how are you able to? Because I remember you were at Clermont-Ferrand earlier in February. Is that the reason why you attend these festivals, to scout, to see what would be a good pick for this year's festival? What's the process like?
So we put together a program through submissions. We normally open every year in November, and we stay open for about 3-4 months. So our program is made up of films that come through submissions. The other part of it is scouting. So I do attend some festivals like Berlinale, Toronto, Clermont-Ferrand, and when I'm there, and this is really, I guess, what all film festival directors do is they travel around, they watch films. We do try and watch them as quickly as possible to nail down those premieres. But also, it's about relationships, establishing relationships with the distributors, the sales agents, those that kind of manage the strategy of the films, and having these relationships, maintaining them. Many of the sales agents I've been working with for more than a decade, so we know each other. They know the festival. So yeah, that's primarily what we do when we travel. We scout for films and we meet lots of people and we just keep meeting with them and just keep the relationship going. That puts, one's festival in a good position.
That's for anybody who's hoping to be a festival manager or be in the festival scene someday. Definitely, be watching films, visit all these film festivals, and keep a good eye out. Now, let's talk about your collaboration with DFM, which is the Durban FilmMart, and Talents Durban. Just briefly, how has that relationship blossomed to what it is today, and how's the collaboration been so far?
So the Durban FilmMart is about 15, 16 years old. A few years ago, it moved out to become independent, which is now the Durban FilmMart Institute. So we've always worked closely together, and that's the kind of relationship we have, where we are independent, but we're partners and we do work together. So we have a very good relationship. And our relationship is much like the Berlinale, the Berlin Film Festival, and the European film art market. So we're independent, but we are partners and we do work together. And it's really great that the events overlap and they kind of really complement each other. The Durban FilmMart is kind of where filmmakers go to network, to develop their films, produce, get financing, sales and distribution. And then, of course, we are the second part of the life cycle of films, which is showcasing. So it is a very complementary relationship. We are very close. Like I said, the DIFF actually founded the DFM. And yeah, I think we're both excited for the upcoming editions.
Yes. Just as I am, I'm truly excited. And I'm really excited also to experience the Durban International Film Festival in person. And yeah, and I would really encourage anybody who's watching now or listening now to definitely be in Durban and experience the festival for yourself, because the lineup is amazing. 85 films to watch. I mean, just take a few days out of your busy schedule and enjoy films from all across the world, appreciating amazing cinematography, amazing stories, amazing themes, amazing documentaries also. So before we end this conversation, I'd like to know what your experience is with filmmakers, or better still, let me take it from the filmmaker's point of view. So I'm a filmmaker and I'm planning to submit a film to Durban International Film Festival. What are some of the things I should take into consideration? Maybe for someone watching now and wondering, would my film be a good fit? What would be the advice you would give to someone who's thinking to submit to the festival?
I think having a good strategy. I think understanding why you're making the film. Are you making it for the festival circuit? Are you making it for a streamer or theatrical release, or a combination? And then if it is the festival circuit, I would suggest doing research around which festivals you think your film would fit, And how you can kind of better understand that is if you look at the programming for the last couple of years, to kind of see if your film suits the programming. Whoever's putting the programming together, they've obviously got a certain taste or topics that are important. So I would encourage looking at the programming for the last couple of years and just checking if your film would be a good fit. Yeah, I think those are kind of the tips. I think with the festival strategy also, just bear in mind the requirements of each festival. Some people require premieres, others don't. For example, some filmmakers, they'll show a film. I'm just going to give an example. They'll show a film in Cape Town, and that festival doesn't require premiere, whereas DIFF does. So then it would make sense for them to first try to get into DIFF and then go to Cape Town, so just working that out. That's a question we get asked a lot. They don't quite understand that. So I think just the marketing, why you're making the film. And I would argue the marketing of your film actually needs to happen before you even start shooting. Know the whys, know the wheres, where you want it to be, and then just lots of research. Look at the criteria and then look at also the programmer or the program for the last couple of years.
Some tips there for you filmmakers watching and who would love your film to be in the festival. Remember, we were talking about funding, support for the festival. How has the festival been able to sustain itself up until now? Do we have entities that are supporting and, helping the festival to stay relevant and, stay afloat?
So the funding environmental landscape at the moment is difficult for everybody. If you just look around the world, it's quite apparent. Or if you read like Screen International or Deadline or The Hollywood Reporter, yeah, I think the world economy is struggling with the things that are happening in the States. There are massive festivals like the Berlinale whose funding was cut. Toronto lost their main sponsor. I think their sponsor was Bell for like a decade or two. So this is a kind of trend. Film festivals are struggling around the world, and DIFF in South Africa is no different. We are very grateful for the support that we receive from our principal funders, which are the National Film and Video Foundation of South Africa, the previously KZN Film Commission, it's now called the KZN Tourism and Film Authority, and of course, also our Durban Film Office. So DIFF is really well supported by all of these kind of government entities, film government entities. And then we do get a lot of support from, cultural institutions like the French Institute of South Africa or the Spanish Embassy or the German Embassy. If we have films in the program that speak to certain countries, we obviously just reach out and see any kind of support, even if it's not financial, but even in kind, trying to get the director to come with a flight or things like that. So yeah, I think funding is difficult for everybody, but you have to be super inventive and just speak to everybody and just try and kind of make it work. And with that, there's budget cuts. So just again, as a festival, you need to think your why. What's your why? For us, our focus is really on putting a great program together. And then, if that's your decision or that's your anchor, when you're making decisions about how to deliver an edition under tough circumstances. But all of that said, we're very pleased to present the next edition, which is our 46th. Yeah,
we look forward to it. We really look forward to being at DIFF this year. Thank you so much, Andrea, for taking us behind the scenes to running a festival and basically what to expect for DIFF. And if anyone is watching now and would like to stay in touch or abreast with what's going on with the festival, how can they follow?
Okay, we're on social media. We have a Facebook page, Instagram, and we also have a YouTube channel where you can check out all of the trailers. But of course, you can also go to our website. It is a bit of a complicated one. It's ccadiff.ukzn.ac.za. So I'll just say that again. It's ccadiff.ukzn.ac.za.
I'll definitely have it on the screen so you don't have to rack your brain if you're watching, and then you can definitely visit and get to know more about the festival. Thank you so much, Andrea, for your time. And thank you again to DFM for the opportunity to speak to Andrea today. And I'm excited for the festival, and hopefully I'll be at the festival this year in person, and I'll definitely bring highlights, and hopefully we get to meet in person.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Alice.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.